So here we are starting with positioning in CSS. Positioning. I can position a particular HTML element in web browser at a particular position. Okay. Web browser is made up of full screen. Into body part, we display what information, what HTML, with the help of HTML tags, what I want to display onto the screen, I do it with the normal HTML tags. But if a particular HTML element, what I want to display with the help of tag, I want to position onto that screen at a particular location, at a particular position, then I make the use of CSS positioning. CSS helps to position the HTML elements at a particular location. If this is a screen, if you entire screen, and I want to locate particular HTML element somewhere over here. So I can do that. How can I do that? With the help of few properties. Which are those properties? Position is the first property, all of you. Position. The position property is used to set position for an element. We use what? We make a use of position property. The element can be positioned using the top, bottom, left and right. Okay, so along with the position property, we also make use of top, bottom, left, right. Okay? From top, you see over here the movement of my mouse cursor. Okay, from top, how much space I want to leave. From bottom, how much space I want to leave. From right, how much space I want to leave, and from left, how much space I want to leave, and then display this element. So for that, we make use of positioning in CSS. How do we write the code? See, there can be any selector. Okay, HTML, any HTML tag can be used as a selector. Then we make a use of position. We make a use of position property. We give some value to it. Then I make use of top property. I give some value to it. Left some value. Bottom some value. Right some value. So this is how I make a use of positioning a particular HTML element onto the browser window. Okay, from top, from left, how much space should be left? Okay, values in position are fixed, absolute, relative. Values in position are fixed, absolute and relative. Either we write position value to be fixed, value to be absolute, or value to be relative. And value to top, bottom, left and right are in pixels. We give value into pixel, 5 pixels, 7 pixels, 8 pixels, 15 pixels. So from top, I want this gap to be, if I have written 10 pixels, then this may be a 10 pixels. So from top 10 pixels means from top 10 pixels will be left, and then it will display my element. So onto a browser window at a particular location, if you want to display a particular HTML element, then we make use of position top, left, bottom, right. Top, left, bottom, right and position. There are 4 types of positioning in CSS: static positioning, fixed positioning, relative positioning and absolute positioning. Let us understand static positioning. This is by default position for HTML element. Default means if you don't write the positioning, then by default where it occurs, there it occurs. The place where by default an HTML element is displayed is said to be a static positioning. it is not affected by top, bottom, left and right. Whether you give top, bottom, left, right, still static positioning. If the position is static, it won't affect. Next, fixed positioning. This property helps to put the text fixed onto a browser. Fixed onto a browser means even if you scroll the web browser for moving the data which is below or towards the right side, if you scroll left and right, top or bottom, still that particular HTML element will be displayed onto the web browser. That text or that HTML element which is given as a fixed positioning will not move, even though you scroll the browser window. Even if you scroll the browser window, the fixed property forces an element into a fixed position relative to the browser window. The fixed element will not move even when the page is scrolled. Even if you are scrolling the page, your element won't move. Your element won't move. Then you have relative positioning. Relative positioning property is used to set the element relative to its normal position. Relative to a normal position means previously if some HTML element is displayed, the relative to that previous element, the next text will be displayed. And absolute will be relative to the web browser window, the edge of the web browser, the border of the web browser. That is absolute. Difference between relative and absolute. Relative is relative to the previous content. Absolute is irrespective of the previous content, browser window. If I say top 10 pixels for a particular HTML element, then top 10 pixels, if it is relative, then 10 pixels from the previous HTML element, and absolute if it is, then 10 pixels from the edge or the border of the web browser. That is the difference between relative and absolute. Let us read absolute positioning. This property sets an element in a specific location and it is not affected by the flow of the page. Flow of the page means if something is already written, so that is not affected. If whether it is something is written or not, still the positioning pixels will be considered from the border of the web browser. This property positions the element at the specified coordinates. This property positions the element at a specified coordinate. Top, bottom, left, right, whatever coordinate you specify, it will be displayed at that specific coordinate relative to your screen. Relative to your screen, top and left corner. That means screens or a border. And relative is not the screens but to the previous HTML element. That is the difference between relative and absolute. See the example over here in style. P.fixed. Okay, P is an HTML element to which I have given the class fixed. Then in curly bracket, position colon fixed, semicolon, top colon 50 pixels, right 5 pixels and color blue. Make a note all of you how to write position colon fixed, top colon 50 pixels, right colon 5 pixels, color colon blue. This is very important how to write. Students make a mistake over here, comma, semicolon, colon, instead of px they write pixel, pixel, okay, they write pc. So don't make a mistake over here. Make a note over here how do we write. Okay, now here P, this is paragraph 1, this is paragraph 2, this is paragraph 3. Here P class equal fixed. This is fixed position text. That means if I have a big paragraph and I have to scroll downwards, okay, 1, 2 and 3, these 3 paragraphs may be scrolled up and down. But this paragraph, this is fixed position text. This part will not be scrolled. This will be displayed at a fixed location. Okay, at a fixed location. Okay, location is given. What location is given? Top, from top 50 pixels and from right 5 pixels. Color blue. So from top 50 pixels and from right 5 pixels, and then color blue. That will be displayed. I like to show the output onto the web browser. All of you pay attention. I am opening the web browser. You see, the output goes something like this. Now I am just making it big. Okay, I am not getting a scroll bar. Even if I scroll, you see, all of you, okay, that this is fixed position. That position is not changing. Okay, even if I make it big, I'm not able to go more big. If I go more big, then I would have shown you the scroll bar, but right now I cannot go, I cannot show you more big. If this is a big paragraph and this was a big paragraph, then I would have scrolled, and if while scrolling you would have noticed that this is not moving. This has its fixed position. Another example, see, a class first position is relative, top some minus 10 pixels, right minus 10 pixels. Then again h2 and selector position colon absolute. Here h2 is absolute, whereas first class was relative. Then some coordinates from left and from top. Okay, this h1 class equal first. This is an heading. This will be displayed at this location. Okay, 10 pixels relative to the previous element. Okay, if some previous element was there, then that would display this to the relative to the previous element. And h2 is absolute, 100 pixels for, and top 150 pixels will be from the edge or the border of the web browser. Output will be something like this. Okay, let me show you the browser window. See, something like this. Okay, now this is top and this is right, left, and this positioning is from the edge and not from the ear. If here I would have given relative, then relative to this, that means from here this much space. If I give absolute, then absolute positioning will be from the edge of the web browser, from here. Okay, I'll show you the code for this, what I have written. Code is something like this, what I have shown you into the slide. Okay, okay, explanation to both the examples. In above output, that is in the first output what you have seen, headings with class first have a relative position 10 pixels above and 10 pixels to the right of its original position, that I have shown you in an output. And in a second output, heading will be positioned 100 pixels from the left of the browser window, and when you give it as an absolute, it is top of the browser window. That means if it is relative from the previous element, if it is absolute, it is from the edge or the border of the browser window. That is what it means. Okay. Next, all of you, that's all about positioning. Float property. Float property. Float is a CSS property written in CSS file or directly in a style of an element. Either we write it as in an external CSS, that is separate CSS file, or in a style element. Okay. How the float property defines the flow of content. Flow of content. Following are the types of floating properties. If it is left, this keeps the element float on left side of the container. Float means even if you scroll, it won't move. It will be floating to the left side of the container. Container is another HTML element. Onto another HTML element, if you want some text to be shown at the left side or to the right side, suppose say for example you have an image. Okay, that image, consider that image as a container, and to the right side or to the left side of that image you want some text to be displayed, then that text will be said to be floated to the left, floated to the right, or no floating. Default property is float : none. Let us see the example, all of you. You see, floating. I am floating an image to the left side of the paragraph. Let us see the code. See over here, all of you, style, then I have this as in class float right, and this class I am applying to yeah, I have specified style where I am using this img. Sorry, it is not a class, it is a selector, float right. So this will be displayed to the right side. This will be displayed to the right side of this entire paragraph, because I have written what? I have written float right to img tag. So img tag is used, and this image will be displayed to the right side of the paragraph. This is the output. An example. Have a look at an example. Those who want to write, please scribble it fast. You have two floating to the left and floating to the right. Here I write float left, float right, and then I have given the font size and the other properties. Another example. Here, this was just specifying the style. Now here I am using those styles. See, h2 class. For h2 I am using float left. Again another h2 I am using float right. So this Balvati over there, this will be floated to the left side to this paragraph, and again right. This Balvati will be floating to the right side of this paragraph. The output will be something like this. You see, this is first paragraph. Upper line is the first paragraph, and to the left side I am floating some text. And this is another paragraph. To this another paragraph, to the right side I am floating some text. output onto the browser window. Something like this. Okay, to the left side and to the right side. You see the code for this is something like this. All of you scribble it fast, make a note of this, very, very important. And one of the new feature. Display property. All of you, display property in CSS defines how the components, which components, div component, hyperlink, that is anchor tag, heading, are going to be displayed on the web browser. How are they displayed? It specifies how the element is displayed. Okay, we'll see that with an example. As the name suggests, this property is used to define the display of different parts of a web page. Display of different parts. Okay, let us see an example. How do we write display property colon value? Okay, values are inline, block, dash inline, and none. What is inline? It is used to display an element as an inline element. When I show you an example, you will come to know what is inline element. Let us see that. You see, inline element. This hello world. You see, this hello world is an inline, to a paragraph. See, this is inline to a paragraph. See how I am displaying. See how this text is displayed. You see the code. You see style. Okay, display block. Here first style I am displaying it as a block. Okay, so a block will be displayed, and then you see over here, this is a block example. Div class A. Students, it is a block example. Okay, border, background color, these are the properties what we have already learned behind. Here we are understanding block. Okay, for A class, display is block. Okay, I have another class with some border with a blue background, text will be displayed. So here div class A, I have a content, and in that I have div class B hello world. So this hello world will be displayed within the class A, within this div block, which shows you the output something like this. You see, inside a block, inside the another block. Yeah, this was that block. Okay, I will show you again. See, this is another example. Inline box. This is an example of inline. These two paragraphs generates inline boxes, and it results in no distance between the two elements. Okay, let me show you the code what I have written for that. You see, body display inline, P display inline. For in body I am writing the entire content, and P, this, that is this part. no distance between the two elements, that will be displayed in line of the body. The output is something like this, no distance, in line. That means by default paragraph tag should create a paragraph and display the text onto new line. By default should paragraph text, whatever I write in p tag, should display the content onto the new line. But here this content is not displayed onto a new line, but it is displayed in the normal flow ahead of CSS. It is displaying this. What is the use of p tag? Creates a new paragraph. So here a new paragraph is not displayed. It is into a continuation. You see, it is continuation. Follow all of you? This is inline. This it is interchange. Actually, here I am showing block and here I am showing inline, and block inline. This value is a combination of both. This value is very similar to inline element, but the difference is that you are able to set the width and height as well. Okay, let me read. Inline is used to display an element as an inline element. That means without displaying a particular element into new line in a continuation of a previous line, this text will be displayed. Block, it will display you bordered block, and within a block you can display another block. It is used to display an element as on block element. It starts on a new line and takes up the whole width of the web browser. And block inline is similar to inline. This, when we see it practically, we come to know. Now let me see if I write none. Block inline. None element. See the output. I'll show you the code so that we understand the output. Okay, display none. That is for a class. Okay, for a class display none, and I give the borders. Okay, so for the place where I'm using a class, okay, for that, even if I give another class, okay, which is to be displayed in a border, that will not be displayed. It will be displayed something like this, without borders. So even if I have given block, or any kind of the border or background color, that will not be displayed. All the styles will be removed and the content will be displayed. See this hello world, within this hello world will be displayed, which is which regrets to display, or which doesn't display into that particular style. And this is separate. This is separate P, and this is not displayed because A I have written as none. Not only the style, but the entire class. This entire class won't be displayed. Something like this. This is just a note. The content display contents does not work in Edge or Internet Explorer. This is just a note for you. Example, you can write down, all of you. Welcome to Valbati, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, all will be displayed in one line. When I say display in line, something like this, everything in one line. You see, style P, display in line. So all these different paragraphs will be displayed in a single line. Then block, okay, which I have given for anchor tag. So for anchor tag, whatever text visit Balvati, that will be displayed in a block style, something like this, a block. And a block is given, color is given, background color to be orange. So that block background color will be given to the orange, and it will cover the entire browser window. Block will not only be limited to the text, but it will be that block will go to the entire window. Make a note of it. Another example here, this display property. Here, this is an example with semantic tags and CSS. Example, all in one. Basically, different properties are mixed. And what is semantic tag? This is header, navigation, aside, section, article, footer. These are said to be semantic tags. Okay, semantic tags. Okay, in 11th standard we have seen different sections of the web browser. The different sections of web browser have the semantic tags. Those are header, nav for navigation, aside, section, article, and footer. Header will be displayed. Yes, I'll show the output, something like this. This is big code. This is header. So on top something will be displayed. Okay, then aside, at side it will be displayed. The navigation. Okay, footer. This is footer. So different. You can divide the web browser into different sections, you can say. Okay, so for different sections I have given different styles: background color, width, height, background color, different background color for different sections of a web browser, and accordingly I display the code. You see in the body I have written header, so header part is always onto the top. So in that I have my normal h1, h2, these tags. Then navigation, below header I have a navigation. Over there I am using anchor tags. Then at a left side I am using anchor tag as well as a header tag. I am displaying paragraph tag, and accordingly you can design a web page something like this. I'll show you the output. Here I have used different properties into the different sections of the web browser. See, the output will be something like this. This is top section, this is header section, navigation section, article section, aside section, and footer section. Okay, displaying the content into different. So you can design a professional web page, students, after you complete this course of 12th standard HTML. So based on 11th and 12th, what you have learned, a professional website you can design. That is semantic. Semantic means the regular browser window to be divided into different sections. For that there are some tags. Ordered list. Okay, ordered list is a new topic. Okay, till now we have finished CSS. Okay, we have completed the CSS. Okay, CSS cascading style sheet. Okay, how to style the content to be displayed onto the web browser, that we have completed. Ordered list and numbered list, this is a complete new topic that we will be understanding tomorrow. Thank you for today, and please revise the video sessions that will be uploaded onto the YouTube channel so that you don't forget. Okay, thank you. Have a nice